Hello, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining once again to a new publication of results of Latin NCAP. In this opportunity, we're going to be launching the last set of results for phase 12 of this year 2021. It's going to be the last publication of the year, and with that, we'll be publishing 3 models. And as we got you used to, we are going to be using the same video showing the cars we tested and then the results. So. Starting with the cars we tested is the Kia Sportage, basic version 2 airbags, no ESC, made in Korea. The Hyundai Accent, 1 airbag in the most basic safety spec and no ESC, made in India and Mexico, valid for both. Great Wall, Wingle 5, 2 airbags as standard, no ESC, made in China. Summary of cars is the Kia Sportage, made in Korea, the Hyundai Accent, made in India and Mexico, valid for both, and the Great Wall Motors Wingle 5 made in China. Kia Sportage, the first one we're publishing, it's a 0-star car. Take a look at the coloring of the dummies. Overall, the car, we're watching now the frontal test at full speed, and now we're watching it in slow motion. Stable structure for this car, unstable footwell area for this car, but the vehicle showed relatively good protection for the adults thanks to the restraint systems in the vehicle, airbags combined with the belts. This vehicle offers standard ISOFIX connectors, ISOFIX anchorages, but the manufacturer declined to recommend any child seats for the test, which is affecting dramatically the results by bringing 0 points to the dynamics. So Latin NCAP decided to put both child dummies rearward facing. Remember, when the manufacturer does not recommend a child seat, then Latin NCAP has to choose the child seat to be used, and performance was full protection. However, those points go back to 0 for the manufacturer, as the manufacturer did not recommend any child seat. And now we're watching real speed side impact protection for the car. Side impact overall was good to adequate, or adequate to good for the adult, and full protection for the child occupants on the side impact. Despite not having a coated airbag or side body airbags in the case, still though the protection is quite good, quite high. Penetration of the structure is not very high, so which is also desirable and good. You can see there's not too much penetration of the card on the side impact, which is very good. We're watching now the whiplash protection for the car, which is a good protection, and this is on Latin NCAP's view also very good for scoring. We're watching now pedestrian assessment. Pedestrian assessment of the car was I would say above the average. Protection overall offered to the pedestrians, it's a little bit better than some vehicles of the same segment, but still in condition for a 5-star requirement, but the other boxes were not good either. We're now going for the Hyundai Accent. Accent was 0 stars. Pay attention to the chest of the passenger side, which was rated with red. Watching now slow motion of the car, 64 kilometers an hour, stable structure. That was the rating of this vehicle. The vehicle had a pretty good restraint systems for the driver, but without any airbags for the passenger side. The loads in the chest were really high, and that is actually what made the red chest. You know, when there's a red chest, there is automatically 0 points in this test for this car. The car offers ISOFIX connectors, but the manufacturer declined to recommend child seats. So it was Latin NCAP the one that has to pick which child seats to use, and we put both child dummies rearward facing. As you could see there, also the backrest of the Q3 basically unlatched during the test, which is not desirable. The manufacturer is investigating that case and understanding what happened. We're now watching the side impact. Side impact without any side airbags. The protection was overall quite acceptable to good for the adult, and full protection for the child occupants. But remember that protection dynamic test scoring for child occupants is not considered because the manufacturer, in this case, declined to recommend child seats. We're watching now the outside view of the side impact with a relatively high intrusion in the surviving cell, or basically the structure of the car. And we're watching now the whiplash protection of this car. Whiplash protection went into marginal levels. Remember that this is a very important scenario, very important test for the effects on the neck. We're watching now pedestrian assessment of the car. The pedestrian performance of this car was not on the top of Latin NCAP, what Latin NCAP remembers, but offered more or less an average. We were expecting a bit more performance or better performance from such manufacturer in such a car, but unfortunately that was not the case in this opportunity. So the next result is a Great Wall Wingle 5, which was a 0-star car with airbags, 2 airbags, and pay attention to the red chest, neck and head of the driver and the red chest of the passenger. We're watching live speed, real speed, and now we're going to go for slow motion. So pay attention, you have airbags and seat belts, but protection for the occupants, adult occupants, was actually really low, was poor by the way, so weak level. Causing life-threatening injuries even with airbags for both adults in the front. The car is not offering ISOFIX connectors and the manufacturer declined to recommend child seats, so it was Latin NCAP the one that has to decide which child seats to use, and we could use actually what was available with seat belts, what you can install with seat belts. So it wasn't a good performance for the Q3 and not very good also for the Q1.5, but that was actually, as explained, the possibilities. We're watching now the top view of the car, and now we're watching the side impact protection. Side impact protection of the car was overall adequate to good, but there was high intrusion in the structure from the side. You probably could see it in the camera, you will see it again. Child occupants had full protection on the side impact, and that's also clearly very good. And you're going to have an opportunity to see it from the outside. Take a look at the intrusion, massive intrusion in the surviving cell by the cart on the side impact, which is really disappointing overall. We also have whiplash testing for the car. Protection was considered as poor. And we're walking now into the pedestrian assessment for the car. Pedestrian assessment also was really bad. Below any other car we tested so far in Latin NCAP. Remind you that the score is mostly poor protection for the pedestrians, which is definitely not desirable, but it is what the manufacturer considers as a basic feature or basic equipment for Latin America. So as a summary, the Kia Sportage, the problem of the Kia Sportage was actually the lack of ESC. Also the footwell area, which was unstable, and the child occupants, the child seats were not recommended, and Latin NCAP had to choose the child seats to use in the test. And that would be it for this vehicle. If we go to the Hyundai Accent, we noticed a very high low protection of the chest on the passenger side. The car has a single airbag and no ESC as a standard. So the very poor protection of the chest on the passenger side, it's something that we were not expecting, and definitely that was bringing the result of the adult box quite low. Also, the manufacturer declined to recommend any child seats, and that of course affected negatively the child occupant protection. And last but not least, the car doesn't have ESC, so that's why the scoring in the safety assist box is very, very low as well. So last but not least is the Great Wall Wingle 5. The car was rated very low. Remember that we had in this car life-threatening injuries or high probability of life-threatening injuries in both adults in the front, even with airbags. So we had a red head, neck and chest in the case of the driver, and a red chest for the passenger in a car which is relatively new. It's available in Europe and many other markets as well, but with different safety conditions or different safety equipment as well. And in principle, it was a surprise that the manufacturer decided not to recommend child seats, and that's actually explaining also the 0.0% in the child occupant box. Pedestrian protection was also very low, one of the lowest Latin NCAP has tested so far. It's all mainly poor and weak protection, and the safety assist box, clearly it's affected by not having ESC and not having seatbelt reminders at all. The car doesn't have any seatbelt reminders. So that will be it for the last publication of results of this 2021 phase 12. We thank you very, very much for the continued support and for joining us every time we publish new results. We invite you to continue following us next year. There are more and more exciting results coming up, and we hope we can count with you as well and continue the change or helping the change in Latin America. Before we say goodbye, I would like to wish you all Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And before we go, a very special acknowledge and very special thanks to our supporters, Toro Zero Foundation, FI Foundation, Global NCAP, also the Bloomer Philanthropies and ICRT. So thank you all so much and very much. We expect to see you. We would like to see you next year, and hopefully things are going to be smoother and better for everyone with all this global crisis that we have been dealing with in the last times. So thank you very much, and until next time. Bye bye.